Hey everybody, it's Eddie from Tokyo. This is your cryptocurrency update from Japan. I've got a good one for you today. First, we'll take a look at the market. You're looking at the top 100 by market cap, and there are just 4 projects that I'm going to talk about because they're bucking the trend. As you can see, it's a little red, and I always like to focus on who is moving against the market and why. Well, the first one is TRON, TRX. They're up about 7%. They're going to launch a stablecoin. It is going to be USDD, and it will be available starting in May on Ethereum and Binance chains. It'll be 1-to-1 against the dollar. I hope Justin's got something good going on here. I have been hanging on to this, wrote it off a long time ago. It's been in my portfolio since 2017, and it's been a painful decision, but I really hope that there is something to this. Yeah, stable coins, very hot right now, so maybe there is something. Also, Matic is up. News was announced that it is the most used smart contract platform among the Ethereum ecosystem. That's good. I like this project a lot. And there is anticipation that there's going to be an announcement in Amsterdam today. There's a big Ethereum event happening in Amsterdam, and boy, do I have something interesting to share with you in this video for that. And then there is the OMI token. It's part of Ecomi. There is rumor, and I can't really say this is for sure, but that they are affiliated with the Vivi NFT site that just scored a big Disney and Marvel licensing content for their platform. I don't know. That one seems a little iffy. I think it's really moving on rumor. And then there's Decred. Now, this is solid. It's up 14%. It's going to have a hard fork. This is where the chain actually splits, and it will increase the rewards for the proof of stake validators. So that is definitely a reason for its gain. All right, everybody, let's get to it. Some big happenings in Amsterdam. We've got DevConnect. This is with the Ethereum ecosystem. I'll just show you right here on the map. I always thought it would be such a great place to live in the Netherlands because look how close you are to all of these great areas of Northern Europe. I like it. So they've got something going, and I wanted to set this next video up because you want to listen carefully. This is an Ethereum developer, and there's just so much packed into this less than 2-minute clip. But listen carefully, and then I want to do a recap.
How far are we with the work to proof of stake? What I hear about it always, it's been promised and it's delayed, and it's promised and it's delayed. And then it was this time, it really was promised for June, and now I think it's Q3. How far are we with that merge?
There are several shadow nets running already. So a lot of testing, a lot of development is happening right now. I think the latest test nets that have been migrated already or merged, a few new items came out, which obviously means we have to continue testing, fix those changes. Next week, as far as I know, we have a shadow fork from mainnet, which is basically a real merge situation that we're trying to simulate, but without doing on the actual merge or the actual mainnet, obviously. And depending on that, I think we would have more insights on when the exact merge will take place.
How do the miners feel about that?
I'm not a miner. I don't know.
No, there is actually now thousands and thousands and thousands of miners. They got a sizable amount of money every week with those that hardware. What's happening with the hardware, and how can you come with a consensus mechanism to change that when the miners have also a vote in it? Is it a hard fork?
This will be a hard fork, yeah. Yes.
So does that mean there will also be another Ethereum? If the miners just keep on doing what they're doing, then the old chain also will be active?
Theoretically, it's possible, but again, this has been in the works for years. So as far as I know, all the parties are aligned, and I see it very unlikely that we see a fork, an actual fork or a chain split happening during the merge.
So as you heard, a few items came out. What that means is they had problems and they have to fix it. And that is to be expected. I mean, this is a very tough job to go from proof of work to proof of stake. And I do believe it's a lot harder than anyone is really letting on. The other thing, too, that was a great question is the consensus. I mean, how do you really get all the miners to come on board? This is a hard fork, and we know it ain't the money, but it's the money. And he's a developer. He's not a miner. As far as he knows, he doesn't think there's going to be miners that go rogue. But boy, I'll tell you, I was around when the hard fork or the chain split with Bitcoin, first with BCH and then with BSV. Oh man, it was ugly. And I just don't think that you're going to have all the miners on board. I think there's going to be some rogue miners that keep the old chain alive. I mean, we'll have to see. And no, this isn't any FUD because I think there'll be a minority, but I do believe there's going to be a minority chain that is maintained by some miners who just are not on board. But we'll have to wait and see, right? The first thing they have to do is actually do the hard fork. And as you can see, it has a lot of challenges. So I hope for the whole ecosystem that it is a positive change. But I think this is much more difficult than people are letting on. This next 2-minute clip is with Laura Shin. She is the person who published the book about Ethereum, the early days of Ethereum and Vitalik. And there's a lot of talk right now about this shadow government. I think it's important just to hear the two people she identifies and then somebody else weighing in on another way to frame it. Because Vitalik was really young. And yes, he had made a lot of people a lot of money. And so there's a lot of pressure on him. And it's very possible that it's not so much a shadow government because that is more like used to sell the hype and create intrigue. And, you know, what I really think is possibly hearing what this guy has to say, which you'll hear in just a moment, is that Vitalik needed to have a buffer between himself and the public because there's a lot of pressure on him. And he found a couple of people that he trusted and probably were providing him that buffer. And yeah, I don't know, you can listen to this and make up your own mind, but I guess I feel like I'm not so sure I believe in the shadow government theory. Anything's possible, right? Anything is possible. Nothing surprises me anymore in this space. But I just think it's important to hear also a reframing of what it could have been.
What is the Ethereum shadow government, and who's a part of it, and what does it do?
A number of people who did not have official roles at the Ethereum Foundation, but had a lot of influence and could kind of like change decisions and frankly just affect the direction of the EF, even though they sort of worked in the shadows, as it were. There's really one main person that they talked about the most, who was somebody named Thomas Greco, and people said that he kind of like managed Vitalik's schedule and sort of in that sense like vetted who Vitalik was interacting with and things like that. That just gave him a lot of power. You know, there would be kind of momentous events happening, and even people would even be scared or nervous to mention that he or this other close friend of his that people also kind of talked about, Wendell Holmes, they would be kind of scared or nervous to even mention that they were there, even if they weren't doing anything, but they just happened to be there when this like big event happened. They would be scared to mention that to me.
People, so like Wendell Davis, also, and Joseph Poon.
Okay, Wendell Davis, not Holmes. Wendell Holmes is like a judge.
Maybe as I was reading this, I thought, this is kind of interesting and juicy. But like another way to frame this would be that these are close friends of Vitalik's. Maybe they share, they share like similar worldviews, and Vitalik, as you mentioned earlier, like being as young as he was, and perhaps found some comfort in people that sort of like spoke to him on his wavelength and were able to give him advice about this thing that like had made a bunch of people millionaires and like making it like totally changing people's lives.
Empower oversight. The SEC has shown no effort to search communication with names associated with the Simpson, Thatcher, and Ethereum alliance. They have given them a list. There is a link to that list on my Twitter feed, or you can go to the actual Empower Oversight Twitter feed and find it there. They have asked for this through the Freedom of Information Act, that request, but they haven't complied. So I would say that if you have any time on your hands at all and want to give sleuthing a try, give it a shot, because I think they really need our help. And my last short clip is from the IMF Global Debate. I have a couple of oddities in this clip. I think this whole video is full of oddities, actually. So have a listen, and you feel free to comment, and feel free to even disagree with me on anything that is in this video. I am curious for your feedback. All right, here we go.
Our goal is to get demand, use our tools to get demand and supply back in sync, so that inflation moves down, and do so without a slowdown that amounts to a recession. Many on the committee thought it would be appropriate for there to be one or more 50 basis point hikes.
Are you one of those people?
I don't disclose my own.
Why are you not sounding as hawkish as Chair Powell when it comes to raising interest rates and tackling inflation?
Well, first of all, I'm not a hawk. I'm not a dove, and I'm carrying this little owl with me all the time to remind myself that everything that we eventually decide has to be a concerted, coordinated, collective decision.
Which, we had this economy that was, very low inflation, very low unemployment everywhere in the world before the pandemic. Then the pandemic comes in and really knocks everything sideways. Then we have this remarkable, particularly in the United States, response, incredibly fast recovery, faster than anyone hoped. And then we have inflation. And so that's a lot right there. And then we have a war. And now we're realizing that COVID is still really with us. So what I'm thinking about is a couple things. One is, how is this? Are we going back? Probably not, to the old economy. What's the new one going to look like? Because in the middle of this is a labor market in the United States where people can get paid well. It's too hot. It's unsustainably hot, but notwithstanding it, it's a very, very good labor market for workers.
But the Greens one is something that terrifies me. When I think of what's happening in South Africa at the moment, the hundreds of people that are dying because of flood, and what's going to come next? Could it be Mother Nature that we are hurting so much that it retaliates against us? So that's one thing that is often on my mind. I think the next one is the madness of man, more than women actually.